Tumbling leaves. The tree elves are playing just at the edge of the forest today, where the forest meets the meadow. They are so very quick and nimble. Try not to lose sight of them, because you won't find them again easily. They are very choosy whom they trust. They are teeny tiny and so very nimble, and dart from leaf to leaf, quick as can be. Little tree elves love playing with the autumn-coloured leaves that have fallen from the forest trees, laughing and tumbling through and over and under the leaves, nimbly tumbling over and with the colourful leaves, so lightly skipping along, their tiny feet barely touching the ground of the forest, as light as floating dandelion seeds, twirling and dancing with the wind. It is like observing tiny springs contract and expand at lightning speed. The little tree elves are very choosy whom they let them see. If you look closely, you will notice that their skin has a light brown tinge. They all have small pinched noses, bright green or purple eyes, and enchanting smiles. Their clothes are made from the leaves and flower petals from the forest and are just lovely to see. You may already have noticed that when a ray of sun touches their skin, it looks all shimmery. They forage the forest for edible flowers, fruits, roots, seeds, nuts and plants, laughing and tumbling through and over and under the leaves, nimbly tumbling over and with the colourful leaves, so lightly skipping along, their tiny feet barely touching the ground of the forest, as light as floating dandelion seeds, swirling and flitting in the wind. When the season of autumn arrives, they are very busy, gathering and preserving foods that will sustain them through the bitter, frosty winter. One of their very favourite homemade drinks is a lovely cup of warm orange juice with a dash of cinnamon and a generous helping of maple syrup. Lovely, scented little clouds of steam rising up high into the air, filling the evenings with a sweet scent. Little tree elves love sweet things. It seems that they have chosen to let you see them, and not only that, but they are beckoning you to come along with them as they make their way into the forest, laughing and tumbling through and over and under the leaves, nimbly tumbling over and with the colourful leaves, so lightly skipping along, their tiny feet barely touching the ground of the forest, as light as floating dandelion seeds, swaying and frolicking in the wind. It is a good thing that you are dressed warm, so that you can stay nice and cozy as you enter the forest. The little tree elves tread so lightly. You cannot hear the leaves crunching under their tiny bare feet. They laugh as you are trying to walk as quiet as they, when all the while the leaves under your feet make a rich, rhythmic, crunching sound, laughing and tumbling through and over and under the leaves, nimbly tumbling through and over and under the leaves, so lightly skipping along, their tiny feet barely touching the ground of the forest, as light as floating dandelion seeds, somersaulting through the wind. The little tree elves begin to sing a pretty tune. Brown, yellow, red leaves tumbling down, tumbling to the ground. Weave each leaf together now, makes an elven crown for thee. It is very rare for tree elves to make an elven crown for a human. The little tree elves are busy collecting brown, yellow, and red leaves now, laughing and tumbling through and over and under the leaves, nimbly tumbling over and with the colourful leaves, so lightly skipping along, their tiny feet barely touching the ground of the forest, as light as floating dandelion seeds, gently carried along by the wind, while they lightly and merrily move deeper and deeper into the forest. The forest air has become cooler and clearer. You are close to the heart of the forest, clearing your mind of thoughts that can cloud your thinking. A wonderful, calming feeling washes over you. It feels so nice to follow these sweet, cheerful tree elves. Patches of soft, deep green moss cover some of the forest ground. The moss is springy and cool and lovely to touch. The air smells so earthy and fresh, filled with life old and new and giving. To gladden the heart, you hear the buzzing of bumblebees in the distance. Bumblebees foraging the forest for flowers to collect pollen and nectar. Nectar so sweet and delicious to carry back to the bumblebee hives. Birds are singing and calling through the forest. Some of their songs and trills are high and quick. Some of their chants are more slow and deeper. All their songs swirl around you in perfect harmony. Their melodies quicken your heart and mind, laughing and tumbling through and over and under the leaves, nimbly tumbling with the colourful autumn leaves, so lightly skipping along. Their tiny feet barely touching the ground of the forest, as light as floating dandelion seeds, swinging along with each breath of the wind. As you look about you, your eyes behold many different trees in the forest. There are slender firs, boastful oaks, pretty birches, and many more. Along the way you stumble across fields of blueberries and patches of wild strawberries. The little tree elves nimbly pick some and bring them to you. Oh, they are just so delicious. When you come by a bubbling brook, you stop for a short while and fill your cupped hands with the pure, cool water. The crystal clear water not only quenches your thirst, but fills you with a deep joy. Laughing and tumbling with and over and under the leaves, nimbly tumbling with the autumn leaves, so lightly skipping along, their tiny feet barely touching the ground of the forest, as light as floating dandelion seeds, dancing along with each new breath of the wind. Before long, the little elves bring out each a magical firelight. You feel safe as the path is well lit by these dear elves. You can hear the call of a hooting owl in the distance, and the little tree elves cup their mouths with their hands and reply with frolicking hooting sounds, all the while laughing as only elves can laugh. Laughing and tumbling through and over and under the leaves, nimbly tumbling over and under the autumn leaves, so lightly skipping along, their tiny feet barely touching the ground of the forest, as light as floating dandelion seeds, cradled by the dear wind. Your heart feels so light and free. Your mind is filled with beautiful white light. You notice that your steps are so much lighter now, and as you now tread, you too make barely a sound. The little tree elves sing their pretty tune again. Brown, yellow, red leaves tumbling down, tumbling to the ground. Weave each leaf together now, makes an elven crown for thee. Laughing and tumbling through and over and under the leaves, nimbly tumbling with and over and under the leaves, so lightly skipping along, their tiny feet barely touching the ground of the forest, as light as floating dandelion seeds, kept safe by the dear wind. The little tree elves now encircle you, their green and purple eyes filled with love are all looking on you now. They form a circle above you. Each little tree elf holds up its weaved together leaves. Each of their part fits so neatly and perfectly together to form a most delicate and beautiful elven crown. The crown gently lowers onto your head. The little tree elves have chosen you to watch over them and be among them whenever you wish. A gift that is yours now and always. It feels so nice to be amongst these sweet, cheerful tree elves, laughing and tumbling through and over and under the leaves, nimbly tumbling under and over and with the leaves, so lightly skipping along, their tiny feet barely touching the ground of the forest, as light as floating dandelion seeds, carefully hurried along by the wind. The day is coming to an end. The moon and stars are ready to dress the sky with moonshine and star rays. The little tree elves take you back to the edge of the forest and stay with you until you are safely back at home. A warm fire has already been lit for you, As you step inside, you turn to see the little tree elves darting back to their home in the forest, laughing and tumbling through and over and under the leaves, nimbly tumbling and twirling with and over and under the leaves, so lightly skipping along, their tiny feet barely touching the ground of the forest, as light as floating dandelion seeds, safely guided home by the dear wind. You notice that the air even outside your home is nippy and very cool now, and that the sun is saying its last goodbyes, displaying its farewell with the most beautiful colours, oranges, reds and purples all melting into each other. You see the first star of the night come out. You go inside and gently close the door. On your bedroom windowsill, you place your elven crown. It shimmers in beautiful earthy colours when touched by the rays of twinkling stars.